Hi guys, and welcome to Rathwulven Bushcraft. Thanks a lot for tuning in. This is part 3 of a mini-series on affordable yet awesome bushcraft knives. And first of all, my apologies, I will have to film this video indoors simply because I went down to the lake and there's a regatta going on and also a motorboat race. So there's quite some noise and unfortunately I will have to shoot this indoor and then show you a couple of demonstrations on the balcony. I hope you don't mind. But yeah, without any further ado, what kind of knife are we talking about today? Well, we talk about the Mora Companion, which is this lovely knife right here. There's actually different varieties. I brought two, which is the regular Companion and the Companion HD, which means heavy duty. In essence, the difference is simply the thickness of the spine of the blade. So this is about 2 millimeters, this is about 3.2 millimeters. That's just a little more robust, it can take a little more beating, that's a little more filigrane, so it's more suitable for cutting or maybe for cutting fillets and doing minor carving works, whereas this is also great for battening. And yeah, there's also different varieties of steel. Those are the carbon steel versions, and there's also a stainless steel version for those people that prefer this. I go for these, and let me just explain you why. Well, this knife is just a perfect beginner's knife because price-wise, the heavy duty is between 16 and 20 euros, depending on your dealer, and the regular version with the thinner spine should be around 15 euros. So we already got a really great deal here because we do get a Scandi grind knife with a drop point blade and a pretty decent handle that has a nice ergonomical design for a little money, right? And this is really important because, again, as we discussed before, knives are predominantly tools. You need to use them in order to have some kind of benefit from your knife, right? And just like these knives, as you can see, you know, they're just perfect for making spindles. They're perfect for making bearing blocks for your bow drill. You can just use that drop point end like this. Just go in and work the wood nicely. Same accounts for your hearthboard. You can also just go in, drill that. It's sharp enough due to the Scandi grind just to cut out your notch. You can do a lot of things with that. You can even go batten. This piece of ash has been battened with that knife, and I will just show that later on too. Just about the knife as such, what makes it so great for beginners? Well, imagine you don't have any experience in knife sharpening and you buy yourself a high value knife like, for example, this Rathwulven F1, which is around 170 euros. And yeah, you mess it up, you get a chip in your blade for whatever reason, you know, you start battening away and then something happens to your blade and you don't know how to maintain that blade. Well, if you use a knife that's less than 2 tenors like this Mora Companion heavy duty, it doesn't hurt your wallet that much if you really mess up that blade. Also, due to the carbon steel, you will have an easy time to sharpen it. So if I use a field sharpener like that device, I just have to give it a couple of strokes and it will be fine, simply because the steel as such is relatively soft. Also, due to the geometry and due to the Scandi grind, it's easy for beginners to start sharpening because if you lay that flat on a surface just like so and you just pull the knife, it will automatically follow that geometry. If we compare this to a convex grind like the Rathwulven F1, you will have a harder time because you would have to basically pull with the geometrical design, of that knife. And yeah, so you get great value for little money already. What else to say about that knife? It's legal in most countries because the blade length is below 12 centimeters. This is of relevance in Germany and the Netherlands, for example. So you are actually allowed to carry these knives. Just check your local laws. I don't know how it works in your respective home country, but it's good to know that beforehand. Yeah, what else to say? Maybe we should compare this to another Mora knife. This here is the Bushcraft Black from Mora, and it's a knife that's often praised by many people, and I just want to give you a comparison so you see why a Companion is the better investment. Well, this knife, the Bushcraft Black, costs around 40 to 50 euros depending on which retail price you can get at your local store, and basically you pay almost double, if not almost triple, as much as for the Companion. You do get the same thickness of the spine, if you can see that. And in essence, also the blade design is almost the same. This one is a little broader. And in regards to the handle, you know, this doesn't really add anything to it, because if you can see these, like both knives are designed in an ergonomical way. But here we do have a straight belly that goes through, so we have like one bulb right here. Whereas on the Bushcraft Black, we do have the index finger separated from the rest of the hand by this tiny bevel right here, if you can see that. And you would expect that this knife should perform better, but it actually doesn't. The reason simply being that a knife needs to be versatile. Let's say, for example, I'm going to carve myself a spindle, and I'm using it in a regular forehand grip, and I'm just working the wood like so. Then it's perfectly fine, depending on the size of your hand. That knife works perfectly well. But as soon as I turn this around and I hold it in the reverse grip, for example, if I'm working wood like so, if I'm carving a spoon or so, I will get a pressure point right here next to my thumb, right at that point, because we do have that bevel right here, that kind of, yeah, how do you say, like that, the belly shaped piece of the handle. And this is a huge disadvantage of that knife, which you won't have with the actual cheaper little brother, so to speak. Because if I hold this in that way, I could work like this for hours to come. It's super comfortable. The rubber handle just gives a nice grip on that. And also, for example, if we would hold it like this and we would press down, I would not have any kind of pressure right here at the joint of my index finger, because I could just, you know, slide a little back and forth on the handle. This is what makes this knife so incredibly amazing, because comfort is important if you choose your knife. If I take this on the other hand, it's virtually useless compared to the Mora Companion. And I know that some people don't like to hear this, because they find this knife rather cool and they like the design and like this big rubber part that's of course bigger than at the Mora Companion. But believe me, if you use this in a practical scenario for an extended period of time, it will not win the battle against this one. So yeah, that's kind of like it for the theory, or kind of like the information behind that. The only thing I can say is these knives are incredibly comfortable to work with. They are pretty efficient. And again, if you have any kind of material corrosion, if you have any kind of erosion, you know, any kind of problem that originates in chipping or so, doesn't really matter, you know, you can just practice with this, and worst case scenario, you mess up a knife that's less than 2 tenors and then you replace it. So if you are a beginner, really consider getting yourself one of these. Don't buy into all that marketing hypes that are evolving around Gerber Bear Grylls knives and all these kind of things, because if you want something reliable, Mora knife is the knife to go to, especially the Companion heavy duty. Yeah, and if you have a kit, for example, then you might consider just getting the thinner version, the regular Companion. It's all up to your preference. If you're a low maintenance type of person, you know, just go for the stainless steel version. And yeah, I can't say much more about the knife itself. What's also interesting to mention, it does come with a sheath, of course. Those are plastic sheaths and they're pretty alright. Pretty cool thing is that they have a hole right in the bottom. This is just for drainage, because if you will get moisture onto your knife, it will start to rust. As you can probably also see here, this has a artificial patina on top of it. And due to the carbon steel, it is vulnerable to corrosion, of course. So this is helping a little. It does have a belt clip, which makes it just great to put it next to your trousers, or maybe as a neck knife. You could just hold it like this with a piece of paracord, or you can also put it to your molly system on your backpack. It's all up to your preference. I have to be honest about the sheath though. Extended period of use will lead to the sheath getting kind of sloppy. I don't know if you can hear this, but that knife is not fitting very well anymore, because I just used this for years. And as you can see, it's still kind of like kind of alright. But now I dropped it, like if I give it a good shake. And this is an issue you should basically think about, because if you're a beginner for the first time outdoors. You know, this will just do fine. You get a sheath, you know, you don't have to worry a lot. If you want to, you can fix this also with a regular hairband, like a piece of rubber, and just go around like this. See? And that's also fine. But just something to bear in mind, the sheaths are not the best, but they're also not bad. And overall, for less than 2 tenors, again, you get a pretty good knife. But yeah, I would say we leave it for this. Let me just show you a couple of practical demonstrations. Let's get a bit of wood, just go out on the balcony, and then I'm going to show you a couple of things a knife can do, alright? Let's go. Okay, so to start off, we just use the regular Companion. Again, for comparison, this is the heavy duty version. This is just the regular version. It's a little thinner. And we just start off with batoning, because that's probably what you're gonna do with a knife like that, right? So we just take that piece of wood and just give it a couple of punches. Let's see what happens. Well, as you can see, the regular version is kind of like in trouble. It still works, if you take a look at that. But yeah, we also deal with relatively solid wood right here. I mean, if I give that a couple of more punches... Wait a moment. It would eventually crack, because you can see that it's already forming a crack right here. I'm just not gonna continue simply due to the noise. But yeah, if you just also give that a try with the heavy duty. As you can see, that works way easier. Just for another time, just that you get an idea of the thickness. And that's the reason why I personally would recommend to go for the heavy duty version, because again, that knife could do the trick, but it's simply not designed for that. That's why they introduced the heavy duty at Mora. So give me just a second, and we're just gonna give that a try with the heavy duty too, just to see what's gonna happen. As you can see, that works a little better. If we then just give it a couple of more punches, we can even split pieces of wood like that, just for basic firewood. But yeah, so you get an idea. Then of course we need to have a look at the bow drill method, and of course the hearthboard. As you can see, if I just do that movement, I can easily subtract material right here. Funnily enough, with the heavy duty, that's a little worse than with the regular one, simply due to the thickness of the spine. So it's all your preference, as you can see. This works a little nicer for the final work. So in the end, making a purchase decision is just all up to you. It's about your own preference and what you need. If we have a spindle, this is a little crooked, you know, if we need to correct that. As you can see, we don't have any problems to get proper shavings off of that, just as an example. And then of course you might wonder how we would go about feather sticks, for example. And also there, the knife performs just pretty alright. If you can see this. And that knife hasn't been maintained in a couple of months actually, so you can see how bad that looks like. was just a test to see how it will look like if I just don't treat it at all. Then again, for the heavy duty, same thing. Looks pretty alright, huh? So yeah, I hope that can give you kind of like an impression of what that knife is capable of. It's just a great bushcraft knife. Alright, so just to summarize the most important points of the video one more time. If you buy yourself a Mora Companion, you literally do get a companion because it will serve you for a long time. It is also suitable for any type of woodworking, from whittling up to battoning basically. So it does what a knife needs to do in regards to bushcraft. If you get yourself the regular version, it's also great for food preparation. If you want the sturdier version, get the heavy duty companion. And besides that, yeah, it's a knife that doesn't cause a lot of frustration. So if you're a beginner in regards to sharpening knives, this is perfectly fine. If you get a chip in there and you can't fix it, you can replace the knife. And of course it comes with a sheath, so you get the full package. You can just mount that somewhere, go outdoors and do things without investing a lot of money. Like for example for the F1, as we discussed before. So yeah, I would leave it for that. If you like that video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel, of course. And if you think that somebody could profit from that information, please also feel free to share this video. Always helps the channel grow, and the more people watching, the more could learn from that. So yeah, without any further comment, I say I'll leave it for that, wrap it up, and up until next time, have a great time outdoors. Take good care. Bye bye.